So James West, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, so let's just start by just tell me, I've talked to you about your business before, but that was, I don't know, like 4 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago. Yeah, way longer than that, actually.
Probably like 7.
Yeah, it probably was, right? When I was over at Infusionsoft and I was looking at doing a video for something, for a demo. But
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about your company and
Yeah. So I'm the director of video. So we have a production studio over there at Ideas Collide. Been there for 13 years, which is way longer than most people stay at a marketing agency. But yeah, I work for Ideas Collide. They started in 2005. I joined them in 2010.
Okay.
And when I joined there, they were much smaller, startup, 12 people or so. I joined there to do social media marketing. And since then, we've grown to we're about 80 people now.
Nice.
We have another office in Portland, Oregon, with I think about maybe 8 to 10 people there.
That's cool.
Just since then grown to when we started, kind of typical startup where everyone's kind of doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And as we grew, we started to develop more teams, graphic design team, web development team, and in 2015 created our video team, or kind of what we have now as a production studio, as we do audio production, podcasts, photography, video editing, animation, all that
very
type
cool
stuff. So it's been a fun journey, and I was very fortunate, to start with them at a when they were both young and I was younger as well, to then kind of morph into my role now, and then go to school for video or come from that, besides just making fun, dumb videos with my friends growing up.
Yeah.
But, it was an interesting transformation with social media as it grew and as it changed. In 2010, it was Facebook and Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah.
That's like it.
Yeah.
And as those platforms came out, it was a fun challenge. Instagram came out, it was like, all right, how do we use this? How do brands factor in here? How do we use it? What's the strategy? And doing that stuff was exciting. And then I was getting more burned out of that type of stuff, but the platforms were changing to focus on video. Instagram was photo only when it started.
Yeah.
But then they started adding video. Pinterest came out. Twitter started adding video. Facebook started adding video, all that stuff. So the more and more we were doing that, the more we saw the need for, all right, video is here to stay.
Yeah.
And so that helped me transition into it. I worked with the owners to create this video team. And so we hired somebody full-time as a videographer and editor. And I do directing and producing. And it's been a fun transition there to see how everything's progressed from there and to what we can do now in our capabilities. And so it's been a fun ride so far.
So what are the majority of your clients? Like, what types of businesses do they have? What types of projects are people hiring you for?
We have a pretty diverse client base. When it comes to like the video, audio production side of things, we tend to have more projects with our hospitality client. Best Western is one of our biggest clients, so we do a ton of work for them. Yeah. And as well as some of our tech clients. So our animation, motion graphic type videos are very much largely with those type, Banner Health and those kind of clients that are a little bit more design heavy.
Right.
And then we have some smaller clients, some more local ones. Dan's Eyes and Dairy is a local favorite here. We helped them launch their entire brand. Probably back in 2012 or so. They're a farm based out in Levine that was just producing milk for Shamrock and all those, just non-branded. Right. And the family decided to start their own brand in glass bottles. Kind of
cool.
Take it old school. They have home delivery now, so you get your home delivery milk in a glass to your doorstep like the good old days.
You want to make sure you're home when that comes.
Yeah. Even that they've developed electric coolers you can buy, right,
That's
for
cool.
drop off and all that. But that's been fun too, because that's been like a brand that we've built from the ground up on the branding side, but then also on the video side. They've done partnerships with all the local pro sports teams. So we've done some fun videos with the gorilla from the Suns and Big Red from the Cardinals, and
that's cool.
All those kind of things. So those have been really fun. And then as of late, getting into the podcast business, we work with the Greater Phoenix Chamber and producing their podcast.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun as well. And odd to be on this side of the table here, where I'm trying to be cognizant of not banging the table and making loud noises that we always tell people, like, oh, make sure you don't do this.
Take
or
your
that.
watch off. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. No, that's cool. So, so primarily, are your videos, are they more geared for like social media? Are they for promotional stuff? Does it just vary depending on what the needs are, or what? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we can do it all, but I would say we tend towards more the medium to longer form content. So we definitely still do videos for social media, but I would say we specialize in kind of that 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute type of form of content that's specialized for websites or kind of that second point of contact.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You have your short form, that's your hook that's getting you in, bringing you to a landing page or a YouTube longer form or whatever type thing, right? That's what we would say probably we do the most of. I would say we love more of the high production stuff. It's really fun to rent big old cameras and go on set, on location, get a crew, to help us out. We're hiring actors, that kind of thing. That's fun, exciting stuff. As well.
See, something like that scares me to death.
It is still scary. We've done quite a few of them, but it's still stressful. For sure. We've got some stories I could tell of casting gone bad or things like that. On set, on location, where things go unplanned the way you didn't.
Yeah, tell me a story about that.
You want one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Tell me a story about when things went wrong during a video production.
Yeah, I'll leave some names out here for
We'll protect the innocent or guilty or anyone.
It wasn't the fault of any client or anything. It was just one of those things that happened. But we were doing a shoot on location, kind of in Midtown. We had worked with a location scout to film at a house. We wanted a backyard with some slides, some pool stuff, and so we're at this gorgeous house, super expensive to rent. So we had a day. It had to be this day. Couldn't postpone it, or if things went wrong or whatever, right? So we had this certain day when we're doing acting and stuff and wardrobe. It's all part of like we come up with this idea of, here's the product, here's the 3 actors we're going to have, mom, dad, son. They're going to do this stuff in the pool. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun, right? Lighthearted. And the cool thing about this one product was it was above ground pool that had windows in it.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. So we're like, well, we got to
see people swim by and stuff. Yeah,
totally.
That is cool.
So we're like, oh yeah, we got to do this. So we cast a young boy around 8 years old, maybe about to play the son, and him and his mom come into our office to do wardrobe. So we have a stylist and everything. We sit down with the mom, show her the storyboard. Okay, this is what he would do. Can he swim? Can he go underwater? Like, is that all good? Is he scared of that stuff? Oh no, he loves to swim like all the time, right? So the whole point was that the kid would just go underwater with his goggles and wave through the window.
Yeah.
Explain
normal
that to him.
shot.
Normal shot, right? Like nothing too crazy. Talk to the mom about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, like no problem at all. Like yeah, he'd love it." Blah blah blah. And so day of the shoot gets there, and like I said, it's we're on location. It's kind of one of those things of like we have to be out of here by 4:00 or whatever for the homeowners, and so we come to the shot, and there's only a couple of things he has to do, and so this is the first one. Get him in the pool, and I say, I'm there directing, so he's in his wardrobe, gets his goggles on. I'm like, hey, just put your face in the water real quick to test your goggles, make sure they're tight, no water's getting in. So I can tell he's a little tentative, which I think he's just maybe just nervous or whatever. Kind of gets down the ladder a little bit, and and barely like touches the water with his face. And as soon as he just comes up, he just starts bawling. I was like, oh no. Dad comes in, you know, what's wrong? Like, whatever. He's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I was like, oh no. His dad's trying to calm him down, like almost try to like force him to do it, which I'm like, hey, doesn't want to do it, like it's totally fine. And even though in my head I'm like, what are we gonna do? Like, and like lose a kid in the scene. So his dad's kind of, you know, working with him, coaching, but he's not having it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. They're like, oh great. And so like my first thought is just like panic, right? Like what are we gonna do? Like it's kids, like this is like the biggest feature of this product. Like we have to do this. I'm like, okay, can I have the dad do it? Like that doesn't really make sense with like what, like we have to like rewrite the whole storyboard.
Yeah.
So instead we start like,
it's a kid's role.
Yeah. It's for a kid. And it's like, it's fun, lighthearted, right? This kid's swimming by like a little penguin or whatever. And so it's just like, oh my gosh. So me and another, coworker on set, that I'm talking to, I'm like, do you know any 8-year-old boys that could come right now? So we're like literally like dad's over there trying to calm his son. This is also a Saturday. Mm-hmm. Talent agency is closed. Yeah. They're not around. They're not able to like send a backup or whatever, right? Like this is just, that's no option. Yeah. We just start scrolling through our contacts list and we're like, who do we know that's got a kid that's this age, that looks like this kid, that looks like he could belong to these parents, that is available to come right now, who knows how to swim and isn't scared of the water. You know, it's just like all these things. And we're not having a lot of luck. I call one person in our neighborhood. You can cut this part, I guess, if you know this, but okay. I don't remember if you remember the Shreves. Dano Shreve.
Oh, yeah.
Dano Shreve had a boy that age.
Okay.
So scrolling through the contacts, I find this guy in my neighborhood. I'm like, okay, I know he's got a son this age. I call him. And if someone random calls me on a Saturday too, I'm probably not answering, right? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, most
I'm not
likely.
calling this guy most of the time anyways,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he answers. I'm like, thank goodness. He answered the phone. I was like, hey, man, this is going to sound really weird, but your son, I'm on a video shoot. Does your son know how to swim? Does he like to swim? And are you guys around where you could come to downtown Phoenix like now?
Right now, immediately.
And come like swim real quick for me on a commercial. And he's like, yeah, I think so. Like we literally just got back from Rocky Point. Like, let me like check with my wife, you know.
Be nice and tan, you know.
Yeah,
so,
looking good.
Let's do it.
So he checked and he's like, when do you need us? I'm like,
right now.
Right now? Like, can you leave like right now? And he's like, yeah, let me just grab a couple of things, like send me the address. I was like, oh my gosh, you're a lifesaver. He came down, told the parent of the child we booked, kind of like, hey, we don't want to force it. Like if your kid's scared, like we don't, it's totally fine. Like,
lots
no
of
big
kids
deal.
out there.
No big deal. Like we'll just
you just ruined this. Right? Other than that, you were great.
So we just said, hey, it's no big deal. We can work around it. Like just, you know, you guys can go home. Like it's no big deal. Like we don't want this to traumatize him
right
any more than he already did or whatever. So they left, and you know, 10, 15 minutes later, our backup showed up, and we're like, all right, here's some goggles. Like just swim and smile and wave through this window, and called action. He went down, gave us a big old smile, waved, swam away. We're like, oh, thank. It was like perfect, like on the first take.
We're good.
Like, oh, thank you. Like totally saved our butts. And so I called the agency on Monday, explained what happened. They didn't charge us, which I was gonna like. I was like, I'm gonna need to like fight this. I'm kind of like, hey, we totally set the expectations. Like I talked to his mom, showed her the storyboard, explained exactly what he was gonna do. She assured me he could. So luckily that wasn't like an issue or anything, but I'll be forever grateful for the neighborhood family that came to our rescue. And saved that thing, because he was great. And it's funny too, because he wasn't even like a child that's like super outgoing or kind of crazy or whatever, but like on camera, he just gave a big old smile, did what we told him. It was perfect.
Did fine.
Yeah, we still joke about that one to this day of kind of like what a train wreck that was, you know, and it's always still scary when we're booking talent, especially kids, of just like,
I was going to say
is this kid doing it because he wants to? Is it kind of a parent thing? Can they do what the parent actually says they can do? Because we know from experience that it's not always the case. So anytime where you have to cast kids now, it's very stressful for me.
Yeah.
And I always think of like, all right, do we have a backup? Can we get it paid? Like sometimes we've even paid for a backup to be available. Mm-hmm. Pay like half the day rate or whatever to just have the agency put them on hold because like it's just not worth going through that anxiety again.
Yeah. Working with kids especially. Even my own children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So probably 4 or 5 years ago, my kids wanted to start a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
I said, that's fine. No, it was less than that. It doesn't matter how long ago it was. But I have a client who has a massive YouTube. They've got like 10 million followers and stuff on YouTube. You know,
nice.
huge following. And we do all their editing and stuff. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
You know, we'll record some stuff and I'll get my guys to cut it up and then we'll be good. And getting my kids to actually do things was impossible. I mean, we made like 3 shows. And they're like, yeah, Dad, I don't like doing this anymore. Me neither.
Right? Yes.
That makes 2 of us. Yeah, here I was thinking it'd be this great family, bonding activity. I was complete opposite.
Yep. It's funny too, like that. It depends on what you do, I guess, for YouTube. But the YouTube kind of traditional family vlogging is a interesting phenomenon too that I've watched over the years. I have a friend who kind of similar, got really popular through family vlogging with millions of followers and stuff. And to see kind of what the dynamic is so interesting of having your kids perform almost, versus documenting normal life of kind of like what's happening has been really interesting to see. And I'm real curious to see kind of what the long-term effects kind of play out both for those kids and just like YouTube child acting laws,
it seems to be an odd spot there right now.
Yeah, it's kind of in this gray area because it's like the kids are definitely front and center, right?
And they're working.
They're working.
There's no doubt.
They're working. They know the camera's on. They're performing. But I don't know that the laws have caught up to that,
right.
And that kind of thing. And just to kind of see like, it's like the Truman Show has come to life, right? Of like a lot of these kids have had a camera in their face from birth,
right?
And what does that mean like later, and like what does that kind of turn into of kind of always being on camera? Mm-hmm. It's one thing of like all of us parents who do that, right? But then if you're broadcasting that and it's your job,
right,
and your source of income, where they truly are on camera their whole life. And where does consent play into that? Kind of like once you're old enough, you're like, man, I really wish my parents wouldn't have documented, me crying when I was 8 and broke my arm or whatever it is, type thing. There's been a lot of controversies on that over the years too that have been really interesting to watch.
Yeah, these guys, as far as my client, they're definitely, it's scripted. There's no, it's not like here's the exact things, but there's an outline of here's how it's going to go. We're going to introduce it. We're going to play this game. We're going to, this and that, and then we're going to end it. So but I've also seen the raw footage, and I mean there's plenty of times where they'll do something naturally, and then they're like, all right, well, no, do it again because I didn't get it.
Yeah.
You're in the corner of the screen, or
Yep.
And them doing it over and over and over until they nail it, which I understand because I do a lot of video and stuff too.
Yeah.
But that's still, the stress that is to a kid. There's, like I said, they're working, and they are this family is working all the time because they've got several channels and they're
it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
But you rely on the kids to be a story arc of that, and a lot of the reason why people tune in to see that dynamic or whatever. And there's a family that was kind of connected to these people that I watched that got in trouble because like the mom was documenting her teenagers and like really sensitive, that's not
birds
and
cool.
the bees and
Come
stuff.
on.
It's like, Can you imagine like my mom like posting something that when I was like 16? I'd be like, we need to move. Like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm not going to do this type of thing. So it's a wild, kind of a wild west.
Yeah. It's also funny because people will hear about like the money that those types of families are making.
Right.
It's big money. It's
good money.
You know?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's crazy. Anyone could do that. Oh, you think you can? Like, you go do it.
Right.
That's a lot more work than what you think.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Yep, big time.
To make that 10-minute video, they recorded 150 little videos, and they're putting them together, and they're, you know.
And you still need to, have on-camera charisma and talent.
That's right.
You know, it's like not everybody's built for that.
Yeah. My kids were not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and even like adults, right? Like even though you have complete, like you're like, oh, well, I can do that, but it's like, but you also can't because it's
prove it.
It's a skill set. Yeah,
absolutely.
There's a reason why some of us work behind the camera. And,
Yeah. Well, and it's something that it takes work too, and it's like any muscle, you got to continuously do it. Otherwise, it'll get worse.
Yep. It's a lot of work to appear natural on camera, and that's not easy to do. Even if you know that you're trying to do it,
right?
You know, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, when I first started doing a lot of videos and stuff, it was definitely something that early on I thought, oh yeah, I got this, no problem. You know, before doing it, and then doing it, and then like watching it or listening to it, I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I think you just posted something recently about this, didn't you? Where like you were just talking about your personal like on camera. Like now you have to be the face of the brand, right? And that wasn't necessarily where your background came from, right? Or being comfortable with that. So.
And even when I was still working in a corporate job, you know, when they're like, well, just let's have you do it. You know, I mean, you've been on a lot of sales calls. Well, yeah, but that's different.
Yeah.
That's not the same as creating something one to many that, you know, there's no one to feed off of. There's no,
Yep.
So it is definitely it's a different skill set that takes a lot of time to
though there's
build and develop.
There's levels of that, of just like there's just appearing on camera and people being comfortable with that. Like there's a lot of people we talk to that don't even want to be on camera, even if they're not speaking, right? I don't want to be on camera. They don't like the way they look or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or just kind of the anxiety of being filmed, and then talking on camera, and then talking on camera that's unscripted. Yeah. You know, it's like deathly scary to a lot of people. So there's even like a lot of tricks that we do with if we're doing a talking head interview where we're interviewing someone. We love to try to prep people as much as we can of, hey, here's a 5 questions that we're going to talk about. But that's also hard because people will get very prescribed on that. They expect me to ask that very specific question, and they've got this very specific answer, but then it comes across as like you're reading off a teleprompter.
Scripted.
And that doesn't feel authentic.
Right.
So we do a lot of that stuff with, you know, like we've done a ton of, you know, kind of like retirement videos, or the last couple semesters we've done these videos for ASU and School of Engineering for their graduation ceremonies, where we interview 20 students that are graduating, right? Ask them a couple of questions, and that's, you see a lot of that where they've come up with this very specific answer where they keep stopping in the middle and like they reference their notes, right?
Yeah.
And so we try to just throw them like these additional questions and just get them talking, right? Get just people talking to try to just make it feel authentic, because I feel like it's so obvious.
Yeah.
If you've got something wrote in your mind.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, let's just have a conversation, you know?
Right.
Let it flow naturally.
And I could see having some bullet points, right? So if I'm asking questions about something specifically, and you're like, all right, I want to hit these 3 things, you know, like that's sort of thing. Okay, that's fine. Yep. But I try to steer people away from scripted things. The other thing I've found is just that there's only so many people who are really good with like a teleprompter or
that's another skill for sure. Yeah.
And a lot of people think they're good, and they're definitely not. Like I could tell you sentence by sentence and record this, and it would turn out better than you reading this off of the teleprompter.
Yeah, that's another thing that just it's one of those things of like, oh, I just need to read this. Like,
I got it.
I know how to read. But it's tough sometimes when we do that. We try to steer people away from teleprompters as often
Me
as
too.
we can
Yeah.
because it's just like blah 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 blah. You know, it's just like so dead
Yeah.
and unauthentic.
Even when they talk about it beforehand, I still won't get it out until like, all right, like this isn't working. What we're doing, let's get the teleprompter out. And
Yep.
it's a last resort, unless I know that they can do it well.
Right.
Yeah, I have a few clients that nail it every time on the teleprompter.
A lot of the like C-level suite, CEOs and those type of people that do it all the time. That we worked with, they're like, because they don't want to deviate at all from what they want to say, and so they'll write it, but they've done it so many times that they can deliver it really well.
Right.
But people who have